All right, here's the next question, and we're going to tackle it with the same grace that we have been. But I think it's obvious that if you're not comfortable with negative numbers, that this problem can go one way or the other. So let's go ahead and handle this first the correct procedural way, and then we'll handle the negatives when they, come across our desk. All right? So here we go. We have negative 2x plus 9 equals 1. All right. So here's the goal. The goal is get the x by itself. So let's think about what the order of operations is right now going forward. Because remember, the last step in the order of operations is the first thing you'll take care of. So here we see that we have a negative 2 attached to the x. Everyone, what operation is that we're viewing? It's not minus, it's not subtraction. Between the negative 2 and the x, the operation is what? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Yeah, it's multiplication. And then we have plus 9. So when we think about the order going forward, we would definitely do negative 2 multiplied by whatever x is, and then we would add at the end. So one more time, we would add at the end, making that the first thing that we'll take care of. Once we do that, cancels on the left, leaving us negative 2x on the left. But now we have to be careful because we're dealing with 1 minus 9. So here's the rule. Whenever you're subtracting, a positive minus some number or a negative number plus a positive, really all you have to do is take the difference of the numbers and keep the sign of the bigger number. Everyone, what is the difference between 1 and 9? What is the difference between 1 and 9? You could treat it as 9 minus 1. That's going to be 8. Absolutely. But you want to follow up and ask yourself this. What was the sign of the bigger number? The bigger number was 9, and the 9 had a negative. So it would be negative 8. All right? One more time. 1 minus 9. So that's taking the difference between 1 and 9. That's 8. Keeping the sign of the bigger number, which is negative, right there. Next up, one more step, and we are done. Everyone, we're not supposed to divide by just 2. We're dividing both sides by what? Yeah, dividing both sides by negative 2. Not just 2, it's dividing by negative 2. So once we do this, we know that dividing by the 2 cancels out the 2's. Dividing by the negatives cancels out the negative. Same thing over here on the right side. Cancels out the negatives. But 8 divided by 2, that's just going to leave us 4. And we're done. X equals positive 4, not negative 4, not negative 16, and not positive 5. The correct answer here is positive 4, which is answer choice C. And there we are, my party people. There's another one in the books. All right, on to the next one here. So in this problem, we're going to begin by reading that question sentence first to just understand what the goal is. Once we understand what the goal is, then we're going to start messing around. So here, the question sentence reads, how much money will he receive? Okay, so that's the first thing that we want to turn our attention to. We don't know who we're talking about, so we'll just say our buddy. So how much money will our buddy receive? Okay, so let's understand more of the story. So apparently something's happened and our friend here gets some money, and it says copper wire costs $2.40 per foot. So don't even worry about the exact number, just get the context. The wire costs that much per foot. A technician has a spool with 9 yards of wire and he uses 5 feet for a job. If he sells the remaining wire, how much money will he receive? Okay, boom, right there. If we sell the remaining wire, how much money will he receive? So right there, everyone, right there, I'm thinking, hey, $2.40 per foot. I'm going to multiply that by the number of feet. Everybody, does that make sense to you personally before we get started here? That, hey, if we want to know how much money he's going to get, it's $2.40 times the number of feet of wire that was sold. Boom. So if we understand that part, then the rest is simply calculation. Now, if we ran out of time at this point, no shame at all, because you understood the premise of the problem. So let me go ahead here and help you understand. So the spool had 9 yards of wire. So let me just take this, move this over here just a little bit. And then we had 9 yards of wire. And everyone, if we use 5 feet of it for a job, what operation are we doing? If we use 5 feet of it, what operation are we going to be doing? 9 yards that we had in the beginning. Yeah, we'll subtract the 5 feet that we used because that'll give us how much is left. But here's the one tiny little problem. The tiny little problem is that if you were to go ahead and subtract right here and get 4, you are wrong. 4 times $2.40 would have indeed given you A, but that is wrong. We need to go ahead and turn this from yards and feet into just feet, the same unit. We need that. And so once we do that and commit to that, this problem becomes much more doable. Right here, times 3, that is 27 feet minus 5 feet. Everybody, 27 minus 5 gives us 22 feet. And that is the value that we will be multiplying by. Take a look. When we do $2.40 multiplied by the 22 feet that we have left over, we have 0 times 2, 4 times 2, 2 times 2. Next row here, 0 times 2, 4 times 2, 2 times 2. Add it all back up. We get 0, 8, 12, carry the 1, and then 5. Everyone, how many decimal places are we bringing back? 2. We have 1, 2, 1, 2, and there we go. The correct answer here is $52.80, which constitutes the correct answer as choice C. But the reason is more important here, everybody. The reason is because we needed to convert the yards to feet before we worked with the lengths. That's the biggest key here, everybody. Notice how unit conversions can pop up in the beginning, the middle, or the end of a problem, but it's up to you to recognize and, understand when the most appropriate time to implement it is. All right, next problem up. So the first thing we always want to do, everybody, I know it sounds boring, but consistency is key. We're going to read the question sentence first, and it says, what is the volume of the bin? Okay, so if we're trying to find the volume of a bin, it's best to know what shape we're dealing with, and the moment that we ask that question, we see right over here that it says a cube-shaped storage bin. So it sounds to me that we're dealing with a cube, and so we'll use the formula for the volume of a cube. That's just going to be the side multiplied by itself 3 times, which can look like side cubed, or it can also look like side multiplied by itself 3 times. So either way, both of these would be correct. So now all we have to do is plug in our values and we're done. So check it out right over here. The side that we'll plug in is 5 inches. And once we plug that in, we have 5 cubed, which is 5 times 5 times 5. Right there. So we can do it either way. But once we go ahead and start getting after it, we have 5 multiplied by 5 giving us 25. And then we just have to do 25 multiplied by 5 after that. And once we take care of that, we have 5 times 5, which is 25, carry the 2. And then 2 times 5 is 10, Carry the 2 is 12. So there we are. Our final answer will be the volume is 125 cubic inches. And there we go. Sorry for being, speedy there, trying to write everything down. But there we are. And the correct answer to this one here will be D, 125 cubic inches.